And we've finally reached the last minimalist theory. It's called psychological egoism. So, uh, psychological egoism, oh, I'm sorry. Went back to the first few slides. Oops, there you go. So, psychological egoism. So, a psychological egoism is a theory that every human action is motivated by self-interest. In other words, that every human person only moves because of his own selfish motivation or desire or yeah, I think motivation or desire. No, that we are not capable of going beyond the self. In trying to become and to do good for another person. So all good actions emanate from motives that are ultimately selfish. For example, charity and pity. These are the examples that um, Rachel's provided. We cannot be truly good apart from our selfish motives. No, and if we are ultimately selfish, that there is no space for, well, some people use the term altruism or altruistic motives. No, but in order to simplify our discussion, let's not get into that term, no, because complicated rin yung term na altruism, no. What we only want to demonstrate, or not demonstrate, but to examine in this lecture is whether there is really no space for human beings to actually do what is good and what is right over and above their own over and above their own selfish desires. Okay, so there are arguments in favor of psychological egoism. Now, number one, we always do what we most want to do. And I guess this is appealing because parang totoo, no? We do not wish to do what we don't want to do. No, I think that's tautologous. So when you say tautology in logic, ibig sabihin, when you say P, it means P. No, it's like the identity property, in math. No, if it's an A, then it's an A. No, so we always do what we most want to do. Parang ganon, no. But ang point niya rito is the actions that we engage in obviously are those that we want to do. No, so in other words, for this argument, what we're saying is all our actions must be selfish, and emanating from the self, no. Pangalawa, sabi niya, we do what makes us feel good. Sino ba rito yung gagawa ng bagay na hindi naman siya matutuwa? No, in fact, according to this view, the goal of life is to avoid, all feelings that are antithetical to the good, no. So ang tanong dyan, are these claims true? No? Well, here are the responses. No? Number one, and this is the reason why psychological egoism is problematic. Bakit parehas Roman numeral 4? Parang puro pala 4. No? Wait, I'm sorry. Because this is the fourth. No? So number one, selfishness is different from self-interestedness. No, I think that has to be made clear. No, and the first assumption, we always do what we most want to do. No, that our moral acts, and the good things that we initiate, mostly are things that we want, and therefore we do them only because we want to fulfill our own desires. No? Pero ang punto nga natin, iba yung selfishness sa pagiging self-interestedness. While it is true that we only do the things that we want to do, but it doesn't mean that the things that we want to do are always selfish. They are things that we want to do because they're self-interested. But self-interestedness is not always selfish. In other words, I may wish to do something for other people without having to think that I'm doing that for myself. So nakikita niyo ba yun? If I initiate a donation drive or a charity event, no, for COVID patients, for example, hindi nangangahulugan na gagawin ko yun para sa sarili ko. While it is true that I'm doing that because I want to do that, hindi nangangahulugan that I'm doing that for myself, that I'm being selfish by doing that for others. No, it is true that it's still self-interested. No, that it's something that I desire, but it doesn't mean it is selfish, that it's for me. No? So yun yung distinction that we want to make. Pangalawa, self-interestedness is not about pursuing pleasure all the time. No? This is a response to the second one. No? We do what makes us feel good. Well, no. So many things in life, no, we do and we initiate doing not because we're getting pleasure out of it. No? Maraming bagay ang ginagawa natin dahil alam nating tama and not because they're pleasurable. And there are very good examples that Rachel's provided there. No, halimbawa pag-take ng pill, ng medicine, even if the medicine can be uh, a pain in the tooth. No, so in other words, we do a lot of things, we engage in a lot of things, even if we do not gain pleasure out of it. No, we do them because we know that they're right and they're good. No, so to be self-interested does not mean being selfish. I think that's the crux of the counter argument here. No, that you may be self-interested, that the actions that you do are obviously emanating from your own volition and motives, but that does not make all of these actions selfish. No? Yun yung main counter-argument natin. So concern for one's welfare is compatible with genuine concern for others. No? When we do good things for other people, it does not make it any less good for us. They're not... in other words, in logic, we have this term called false dichotomy. No? And seemingly, the psychological egoists think that it's always either an action, a good action is for the self or for others. No, pero hindi eh. No, they may be compatible. So there is no problem if I am doing something good for others and it is something that is self-interested. No, hindi kinakailangan na either something is selfish or other-oriented. And I think one other issue is that psychological egoism is not falsifiable. In other words, the problem with the psychological egoism is once you have adopted the view that psychological egoism is true, then you can just think of all possible actions in the world, good actions, excellent, virtuous actions, and still explain it in terms of egoism. Kaya niya kasi ginawa yan, kaya siya nagbabait-baitan kasi gusto niyang magkaroon ng bonus points. Kaya niya pinupuri yung teacher kasi gusto niyang sumipsit. Kaya siya nag-aaral ng mabuti because gusto niyang magkaroon ng reward from his parents. I think it's a very problematic theory because of that. You know, that it has the tendency to twist all possible examples and make it appear that all of these examples are confirmatory of its claims. No? So yun yung problema sa psychological egoism. So after having briefly, but hopefully sufficiently, gone through all four minimalist theories, what do we do now? More than the limited considerations of the minimalist theories, there is an invitation to go back to the universal principles of welfare, freedom, and virtue. These three. No? But can we really go beyond the minimalist standards in ethics? Hindi ba? Aren't we trapped in this world thinking about our morality in terms of what our culture dictates, what we feel, what our religions proselytize, or what our egos claim to be right? No? So I think that's the challenge. No, yun na pala yung last slide. No, I think I think that's the challenge, no? Can we really go beyond these minimalist standards and ethics? No? And this is something that you can think about, no? And in module 2, we will try to see, can human beings actually transcend, no, the minimalist standards of right and wrong, no? So in module 2, we will talk about the moral development and the possibility, no, of transcending our minimalist standards. Okay? So kung may tanong pa kayo, we will talk about that in the synchronous session on Tuesday. Okay? Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.